The best agents in life are free and delisted.
Ethan and Benjamin Castle are Americans. Watching the footy.
Liam Ryan saying, kick it my way, I want to jump over the pack, and here he comes!
This is Buddy Franklin! This is the greatest showman!
Got the handball off to Myers. Myers looking for the lead of Stengel. Gee, they're good. Gee, they're sharp. Razzle dazzle Rioli.
Oh, who else? McDonald!
From inside the centre square. Boys kick the goal. Boys kick the goal. From inside the centre square. They can't believe
Welcome to episode 216 of Americans Watching the Footy. I'm Ethan Castle.
He's in South San Francisco, California. I am Benjamin Castle.
He's in San Diego.
Yeah, and I just watched a pretty wild hockey game tonight. San Diego Gulls. Abbotsford, it was 4-1. But this isn't AHL talk, it's AFL talk. And as we learned recently, the AFL is a league where suspensions related to ill-advised costumes are not just for the players.
Go on, because I seem to be out of the loop on this one. What happened?
Alson has been suspended for the first round of 2025. Now, I hope that's opening round and round one for dressing as Bin Laden at an umpire's postseason event.
So that's two 9/11 things now.
I guess so, yeah. The theme of the function, this was held the day after Grand Final, a true Mad Monday for the umpires. It was 2000s characters.
Should have dressed up as the rookie card from the Operation Enduring Freedom set.
I am sorry, I made an error of judgment. I never intended to offend anyone. ChatGPT or just generic?
Is that actually what he said? Is that That's awesome. It sounds like a YouTuber apology. The goal of my content is always to entertain.
Honestly, kind of surprised that it's only one game, considering how a lot of the Giants stuff ended up with 2+, and some of those guys got delisted. Cooper Hamilton, Josh Fahey, though I think Fahey might be re-rookied. I don't know. Rookie list is a joke.
I can't say I know the full details on how the whole rookie list deal works, but it seems like a loophole that teams keep using to milk some roster spots.
Yeah, I believe it's 2 senior players can go on the list at a slight cap discount, and they can still be fully available for selection on their one-year rookie deals. But just the idea of re-rookieing guys and people that have been playing quite a while. Jack Gunston's getting re-rookied, for example. Aaron Francis.
There needs to be like a cap on the number of games that you can do that with. Like once you've played X amount of games, you shouldn't be able to do that.
Is 50 too high?
Maybe.
Aaron Francis has played 74.
Yeah, or you could go with an age thing. You could go with both. Like whatever you hit first in terms of number of games or age.
Thinking like 50 games or 5 years, whichever comes first. And 5 honestly seems a bridge too far.
Something like that.
But Jack Gunston should not be getting re-rookied.
No.
I remember it happened with Eddie Betts as well at Carlton his second time around. Like Jack Gunston has played 260 games. By the time it happened with Eddie Betts, he was up above 300. It just feels like league-sanctioned cap circumvention.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Like I said, what can we compare it to? Like, it's worse than LTIR, long-term injured reserve in the NHL, because these guys can be fully available.
Or maybe some of the stuff to manipulate service time in baseball. I don't know. I guess LTIR is kind of correct.
Service time remind me that whole deal, because I remember it happened with some prominent prospects.
Yeah, they could have fixed it during that last lockout, and they did nothing to alter it at all.
How is service time calculated? Number of games, or
basically like time spent on the active roster, or I think also on the 10 or 15 day injured list. And it's really stupid because the amount of service time you need to to qualify for certain things in arbitration doesn't line up with like number of seasons.
Well, footy doesn't have that, but it has its own problem with this. But you look at the guys that are being re-rookied, and you got guys that have played a fair amount of games. Oleg Markov's on his third club and is a premiership player. Lockie Keefe's been on the list forever. Toby Pink hasn't been around in the AFL again for too long. I mean, he was brought back as a delisted free agent this past year, but he's plenty old enough at this point. Then you got Gunston. Is the rookie name the big issue? Should it be like that there is a game limit for guys on the list as well?
Yeah, if you just renamed, it would be way less stupid.
Renaming goes far enough. I think there need to be limits, and there needs to be like some limit on how many games you're going to get played as well, because that can be kind of a two-way thing, and there could be some negotiating power within that. I feel like also along with that, though, you'd have to talk about extending the trade period, because a lot of these, I mean, there have been guys like Ethan Phillips, who was delisted by Hawthorn, where it was basically either you or Barris. Hawthorn wasn't sure if the Barris deal was going to happen. It did. As a result, Phillips got delisted. He ought to get a second go-around. In terms of delisting and DFA movement, I mean, not too much in terms of the signing yet. We had the two ones that we knew about.
Tim Membry, which that one, it's still weird to me. I think he's going to have a really solid year. And I think we're all going to look at St. Kilda and ask, like, really? And then Jack Martin, who I would think is going to be a kind of a fringe guy, gets in a few games for the Cats. Most likely scenario, kind of a low risk, low reward one, although there totally is a world where he ends up going off and being like an amazing acquisition out of nowhere and having a couple of huge final moments. I would also not say it's
got a bit more. I think he's got a bit more aerial ability maybe than someone like Tyson Stengel, so maybe, I'm not sure, maybe you can play him a bit higher up the ground. At this point, I don't think he has the speed to really be a goal sneak, and Carlton has that as well, and Jesse Motlop. This is definitely a backing into Motlop on Carlton's end, and though we are not Carlton enjoyers, we are very much Jesse Motlop enjoyers, so we endorse that. When it comes to Membry, though, I mean, I was looking at some stats and other things, tried to make the case even more. In terms of best goal kicking in the AFL, this is from Liam Crowhurst, Crow Data Sci. Sorry, say that again?
Who is not a Crows fan, might I add.
No, he's not. He's in Sydney, but yeah, who he's a fan of, actually. My bad. Membry, in terms of players with at least 40 shots in 2024, he ranked 8th in terms of best accuracy compared to X score. And among talls, like mid to tall even, he's a bit better in that. 4th among talls that had at least 40 shots. So he's still got the accuracy. He can play off another tall really well, and Collingwood does that well already.
I thought we were an autonomous collective.
Don't forget, they're also going to have Brody Majacek back next year, so there could be some fun there. Do people just forget about Brody Majacek, honestly? I mean,
I think at this point, he's talked about enough. I think he's acknowledged.
Did miss a good chunk of this year, though, so not the leading goal kicker for the first time since he arrived at Collingwood, I think, but there'll be enough medium to talls to play off each other there without having one lone target, and we've seen as of late that's the way to go. Look at how Brisbane did things this year. I mean, they did have one in particular that might have shown a little bit brighter, but he was a character in his own right, and I was honestly campaigning for Brisbane to try and go after Membry. Is there any team that you think of that did need Tim Membry, or that could benefit from Tim Membry?
Maybe teams that already have enough tall forwards. Someone like the Bulldogs. I don't really see there would have been much room there. Maybe, honestly, I don't know how we would have been able to fit him in at Geelong.
Crows, actually, is another. But there are enough teams there that I hope that the bidding process was competitive, and I'm not sure if it was. Are there any delistings, Ethan, that legitimately surprise you? We could talk about some reworkings, but I'm talking about full-on delistings right now.
Not really. I guess, you know what? Tom Abbott.
It's a little rough spot. I think the lack of goal production there hurt him, and they were definitely looking for more of that as a way to kind of replace Lachie Schultz, maybe somewhat of the aggregate there. I hope he gets another lifeline. I know he's from South Australia, mature ager from there, and he's one that I came to like. Emmett's one. Jai Cully is a sad one. I hope he joins his other guy with dreads at Geelong.
I guess Francis Evans was a bit surprising.
It's another one where I'm not sure if you're going to get more out of him than you already have at Port. And I think with this draft class being touted so highly, maybe the team's making more room for incoming picks. Because remember, Port picked up some decent picks from their mega trade. We knew about a lot of the others. Jack Carroll, a little surprising. I honestly expected him to be involved in a trade with the Eagles instead of Matthew Owes. And Charlie Clark legitimately surprises me. I wonder if there's something off field that has factored into things there, because Clark was a first-round pick 2 years ago, played minimally in the AFL at this point, just one game actually. Might have been subbed out injured in that one in round 8 against Hawthorn. It just is very quick to be given up on a first-rounder.
If it wasn't just the Bulldogs, I would look at it differently, but this is the Bulldogs, and they've had such a weird series of moves with guys that are kind of like half in, half out. So I'm not going to look into this too much, but it's possible. It's the sort of thing that if it happened at like a super huge club under lots of pressure from media, someone would be doing some real digging.
All I'm thinking about now is his brother, who was handed a lifetime ban after invading the Oval during a Collingwood game.
Oh yeah, that's right. Ooh, speaking of banned,
What does BANNED mean?
we finally have news about Joel Smith.
Yeah, he has been sentenced to 51 months hard labor.
Wait, are we talking like eugopotamia, where that's like a serious stage of a relationship?
Vicky has promised to take our relationship to a whole new level, which she calls hard labor!
Gee, Yeah, about time we heard about this. I'm surprising that things had gone cold for so long. There was really no questioning about it, nothing in terms of articles, until all of a sudden, here it is.
So, why did this take so long to get solved?
No idea whatsoever, but this pretty much ends his career. He's 28 now. His suspension related to 5 different rule violations. So there was the positive match day test against Hawthorn. That was right near the end of the home and away season in 2023. That was round 23. And he'd been important for them as kind of a flexible tall, too, which is why it's even more disheartening. I mean, he'd scored 3 goals in his final AFL game against Carlton, that semifinal loss. 3 traffickings or attempted traffickings of coke, and a further possession charge.
So he should probably be dealing with the government instead of just footy stuff.
One think, and maybe if that's the case, the government's been really keeping things under wraps for a while. He hasn't been charged with any criminal offense. What?
Seriously, you guys? The fuck?
Okay.
Now I want to know what the penalty is for this in Australia, and maybe particularly Victoria. Maximum penalty is 25 years, and that's commercial quantity.
Yeah, I'm thinking this is not that.
No, because we're talking 250 grams at that point.
I don't know how much is a lot of cocaine. I'm not exactly experienced with cocaine.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
But 3 different trafficking or attempted trafficking violations screams to me that there must be something criminal there.
I would have to think so.
Oh yeah, Melbourne's also got a CEO leaving, so great culture.
I mean, that seemed like something that would happen at some point upstairs. What I'm wondering is if there's further transition stuff, will there be any sort of power struggle at some point between new and old guys, or is this kind of just a series of changes?
That is a good question. Brad Green is in as president now, former player, and they've got the elections coming up, so that'll be something to watch. I mean, there are so many possibilities for this Melbourne list as well that I think we're going to have to see what happens in 2025 before anything really swings one way or the other. If they're back in finals, then I feel like that'll be enough to dissuade some things for the moment. Because we could talk all we want about Petrarca and Oliver.
I get the feeling at some point during next season there's going to be some more weird stuff with Oliver more likely than Petrarca, even if there's stuff with no degree of truth to it, just some sort of rumors or stuff after a really good or really bad performance.
Okay, I can see it now. Petrarca laid out on King's birthday, or Oliver making a really costly error against Adelaide.
Why against Adelaide?
He had been connected to them in the past. Honestly, looking right now with the fixture release a week and a half away and games 4 months away, I mean, it's hard to predict much of anything, but still, I think the gap between floor and the ceiling is probably highest just about for Melbourne and for Adelaide. Maybe put Hawthorn in there as well. And Carlton always. As we're still thinking about trade period and the like, with that having been our most recent episode, actually, any sort of loose ends there that we want to touch on? Maybe like players that should have asked for a move but didn't, or things that didn't get done that surprised you?
Yeah, the one that really surprised me was Avant Soldo, as we've said.
That was a straight up falling through over physical concerns. He didn't fail with physical. They just were wary of his shoulder, I think. Shoulder awareness, is that a new one?
Nah.
Hamstring awareness is a good title for either for a footy-based band or album. Hamstring awareness. I think the winner of the Your Agent Needs to Be Fired award is Devin Robertson.
I don't get how a player of his caliber isn't getting games somewhere.
I think he's just got one more year now at the Lions. Anyway, just checking on his VFL stats here. Let's just look at some averages for the year here to make some things reasonable. I mean, he's been reliably getting mid-20s or higher disposals. While he's not a huge actual goal scorer, he's impactful enough that you would think he'd be getting games somewhere, and a very heavy tackler as well. I mean, we know he likes the physical side of things, and we know he likes showing off his physique.
Oh no, he's hot!
I think Devin Robertson does win another important award. Most Instagram followers gained over one game. Hard to think this guy was a grand final player last year. Scored a goal in the grand final, got 2 games this year. Subbed out once. It was very clear that he would be further down the pecking order, with One Ashcroft coming back from his ACL injury and playing brilliantly. I am seriously looking forward to full season Will Ashcroft for the first time. Oh, and there's his little brother too. Like, how could you not see, and your agent not see the writing on the wall there and get something moving sooner? You are the nephew of a West Coast legend as well, and it just seems so obvious to get you back home. Darren Glass was a brilliant fullback, all-Australian captain, premiership player. It honestly irritates me that he hasn't come home, and it's solely on his side of things. Also, Collingwood apparently wanted him. There were rumors around him, and nothing eventuated from that either. Devin, what the fuck?
So this doesn't appear to be one of those situations where he's just really happy to be at Brisbane even if he's not playing.
I wouldn't think. It just wouldn't make much sense to me for it to be that way. I mean, there wasn't even a request from him. There's some where there were requests that they didn't end up happening, like Soto, because things fell through there. Nothing for Brody Kemp or Xavier O'Halloran. Yeah, this feels like a really bad gaffe on Robertson and his agents' ends of things. At least he's got that Instagram following.
You know who's now up to 615,000 followers?
Is it the Rizzler?
It is the Rizzler. It was 612,000 just a couple hours ago.
Devin Robertson is 83.8 right now. And yeah, hell of a lot of that came from that jumperless night. Speaking of Instagram, cool to be able to chat with Brett Harvey on there. You know, we reach out to a bunch of footy players on there, hardly ever get responses, but was talking with Boomer for a bit while he and his family were over here in the States. He was in Southern California, catching a whole bunch of games, ventured to Utah for a little bit as well. I think some cousins over there too, and just realized, like, oh, wait, I'm talking with like a complete legend, guy who holds the games played record. Just seems like this completely normal dad.
The funniest thing by far was that they went to a really random high school football game. I thought, oh, okay, maybe they have connections to someone on the coaching staff or something. Context for anyone who doesn't know, most high school football games are on Fridays. The ones on Thursdays are usually just like, we don't have enough referees or staff in the area. Or because schools share fields or something. You know, there's some, like in Texas, where whole school districts basically just share a stadium.
This definitely seems like one where it's just, we don't have enough referees. This was a game between just 2 public schools in LA County.
Yeah, specifically Southgate and Huntington Park. And it's just super funny to me because both these schools are like 95% Hispanic. And I don't think the Harveys are speaking much Spanish. Like, I don't think they'd quite understand the significance if like Vicente Fernandez songs come on and people just start losing their shit.
Or Marco Antonio Solis or things like that.
Yeah, Vicente Fernandez is a pretty consistent one.
I was thinking about Solis because I know he's playing Palm Desert soon.
And it's just like, you know, they weren't out to see like, you know, oh, this game has all the guys that are going to be D1 prospects, or, you know, just like we made a friend and that friend is on the coaching staff. It was just, yeah, wanted to see some football.
And we confirmed that with Brent. No connection whatsoever It's an extremely American thing to do, and I think that's why we love that it happened so much. And there have been a bunch of guys in LA at various times going back and forth there. A bunch of Hawthorne guys, a couple Hawthorne guys, D'Ambrosio and Newcomb, and REEF in San Francisco for a Warriors game that might have just been one night. But obviously a lot will always be in LA and in New York. A bunch of Hawthorne guys, of course, were also in Knoxville.
Yeah, Jackson Ross has a lot of close friends. He's the Tennessee punter. A lot of players were there for multiple games, including the not really an upset win over Alabama.
But when it's only the second time you've beaten them in 19 years, you're going to rush the field. Third Saturday in October is a great rivalry, and I'm glad that it's not as one-sided now.
I liked it more when it was one-sided just because I don't like Vols fans.
Makes sense. You don't like Hawthorne. You know what's fitting is Tanner Brune was also there, and he was cheering on Bama.
Saw he was also in Nashville. Was he in a Predators game or something?
Might have been at an early Preds game.
I know he was in New Orleans.
I think a couple guys were in Nashville when Vanderbilt went down.
Ooh, if we were to ask, like, which college athlete do you want to see end up playing footy? Similar to Mason Cox, I think Diego Pavia would have to be near the top of the list.
Only if Hugh Freeze also goes.
And Diego Pavia is great regardless. Ooh, you know who else would be a fun one? And this actually just gave me an idea. Started as a silly thing, but now it's actually a sincere thing. Everyone's favorite UMass Lowell lacrosse player, Henry DeTola, otherwise known as Hoopify. It would make sense for AFL scouts to not just look at basketball players, but look at lacrosse players, because lacrosse players are such good all-around athletes.
Yeah, obviously, good amount of endurance there. Similar type of substitution in the game as well. Men's lacrosse is quite physical, and I really enjoyed it. I'm thinking about trying to go to some of the box lacrosse games here in San Diego with the Seals as well. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised, honestly, lacrosse hasn't caught on in Australia, or at least I don't think it has. You'd think that for a nation that's got multiple fingers on the pulse in terms of field hockey and cricket, it would seem natural that lacrosse would be right in there, unless we're just completely missing something altogether.
Back to Instagram follower stuff. Ryan's been in Ireland, been all over Europe, was in like France and I think Spain and maybe Italy. Now he's in Ireland. You know who else has a lot of Instagram followers?
We already mentioned the Rizzler. Who else?
Bailey Smith, who's at 351,000. And my explanation for being excited about him is actually like identical to my explanation when someone asks me why I care about the Rizzler. Just look at it.
Yeah, you're talking about Grind. I know he was in Portlaoise, where Zach Toohey grew up. There was stuff over at his coffee chain. And then he and Gemma were also in Portsmouth in the UK because he took her to the darts for her birthday, and he matched up against Fallon Sherrick, who's like one of the best female darts players out there. Weird collision of very niche worlds for American sports fans. Like, to think that Brian Myers has met, like, meaningfully interacted with Fallon Sherrick and Russ Bray. This is wild. And I would assume everybody else we haven't mentioned is in Bali or Thailand.
Oh, I do want to mention one other, like, British thing. Because I was watching GeoWizard the other day, and, you know, you think of most of the United Kingdom as gray and not very, like, scenic naturally, you know, great architecture stuff, but, like, visually, not like you're really going there for a lot of nature things.
Not south of England seems interesting.
Cornwall looks really pretty.
Cornwall, Dover, Scotland and Northern Ireland just looks also just really interesting in terms of coastal environments.
But yeah, I'm not, like, travel-wise, I'm not that interested in much of Europe. Prague looks cool, but I'm not, like, dying to go there. But after seeing this, like, yeah, Cornwall would be pretty neat.
You know, Benjamin, 78% of our listeners are between 18 and 35 years old, so they probably want to start a podcast like we did.
How did you know that number, Ethan?
Thanks to the analytics we have for Spotify for Podcasters.
Formerly known as Anchor, sorry Frio fans, Spotify for Podcasters has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast from your phone or your computer. No fancy software needed.
It's so easy you can edit it while drunk.
And Spotify for Podcasters doesn't just allow you to upload to Spotify, you can also distribute your podcast on platforms like Apple, Stitcher, and more, just like we do.
Best of all, it's completely free.
Not only is it free, you can even make money from listener support or ad revenue. Hint, hint.
Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to podcasters.spotify.com to get started today.
Welcome back to America's Watching the Footy, the only podcast with those 4 words in that order in the title.
As far as we know.
Damn it, we didn't copyright. I can't even say see you in court now.
I'll sue your ass.
We are on multiple forms of social media at Americans Footy. Look to be more active on all of those, especially during December, I think. Just trying to also get some interviews going. We've been having some ideas for some for a while. It's a matter of getting timing right. Individually, I'm at BenjaminHK01.
I'm at Castle Media. And most importantly, Brian Harambe, who is now running around in here, is on Instagram at Cat Named Brian. And the Rizzler is on Instagram at It's the Real Rizzler.
I prefer, rather than the real or anything like that, I prefer not the fake. And I can only think of one not the fake.
I can think of a few people that have done it, but the most notable being not the fake SVP.
Scott Van Pelt, I feel like, would have been a good footy player. Oh, Scott Van Pelt, yes, 6'6".
Really? Wow. I wouldn't have guessed that, actually.
You know, with college basketball starting, 1, there goes sleep for the next 8 months. And 2, Aussie Rules fans, particularly Collingwood fans, will need to keep a watch on the Florida Gators.
It's going to be one of those weird situations where you might not want him to be too good, because the better Alex Condon is, the less likely it is that he stays with Collingwood instead of playing in the NBA. I believe Florida opens up in Jacksonville against South Florida.
The Dinklage Morgoon, University of South Florida.
Neutral side opener. Yeah, that is, that's already happened by the time this is up, probably. And I'm going to definitely try to make some USD and San Diego State games.
Also UCSD.
Yes, of course. Go Tritons.
You have no reason not to go to all 3. Putting pressure on you to go when USF's down there.
Already got that in my calendar.
Good.
I mean, I can get into all those games free anyway.
Good. Then you have no excuse.
Exactly. I'm going to try to get some of my classmates to go with me to some of those. Definitely going to go to the senior night for men's soccer as well, because they are ranked 4th in the country. We'll definitely go when State and USD play each other, December 7th. Don't know the time for that yet, strangely. But yeah, looking forward to basketball starting. We sleep in May. Go Bears, of course.
Women be shopping.
Yeah, Condon's one to watch, and I'm sure there are other Australians that we're missing out on. But Condon, just keeps us talking about the Category B rookies.
See, that sort of stuff makes a lot more sense to me.
Switching back to the sport altogether, and maybe not even from another code of football. Maybe they've played before, like Condon, like Matthew Owes, who, yes, has a basketball background, played for the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Tom Fullerton has a basketball background. And I feel like I'm missing one. I'm missing Hugh Greenwood, the New Mexico Lobo.
Was there anyone else, like someone at Richmond or something?
Well, Mate Colina. Yeah, we'll definitely keep updates on Australians in NCAA, both the men's and women's side, because that's interesting Category B talk. Speaking of Category Bs, the Cats have signed another Irishman, Killian Burke, also from County Kerry like Mark O'Connor. I want them to pass him number 34 and move Oisin Mullen up to number 2. I feel like there's a tradition there that could be started with the numbers, specifically for the Irishman. Also, does Oisin Mullen now take up Radlin Bog?
Possibly, I guess.
Quite frankly, that should be the goal song for every single Irishman in the AFL, no matter what.
Yeah, that's just a great song.
And sounds like there have been discussions around international rules. I would hope for there to be a women's one as well. I know I talked maybe about like an Ireland versus Australia showcase during Gather Round, which would be fantastic. But I don't know where those talks have gone. There's been a more interesting talk around games and venues, though. We are likely to see another new AFL venue this year. Already there's talk of one with Barossa, and I would imagine the Eagles go out there because of Shannon Hearn's ties to the area. His sister is actually the assembly member for that area, but that's not the weird one.
Yeah, the weird one is North. As they're weaning off of Tasmania, I think they had, that like cartoon of the board meeting, the meme format, and then someone suggests something that's actually reasonable and gets like thrown out the window.
That would be, why don't we play all 11 of our games in Victoria?
Yeah, because North, a team known for their rabid Western fan base, are now going to play 2 home games in Western Australia, including one in Bunbury. Now, if this wasn't so stupid, I would be all for it because, new AFL venue, always in favor of that. Country venues, more in favor of that.
I mean, the name of the place is literally Hands Oval in all likelihood that they'll be playing.
But, it's just so dumb for this from North in particular.
It benefits the Western clubs more than anything. North is selling these games. You're building things up. I guess the thought is you could grab a little bit of a Western fan base, but come on now. The only thing that's going to grab a Western fan base that isn't already there is a third Western team if they do get one of the Southwest. And I think this could help bring that about.
I just think Bunbury's way too small for that to happen. Or, the one the know the rules about workplace harassment? Could do one like that, except one of them's Cairns and the other's Bunbury. We should absolutely have more games in Cairns.
There were rumblings about Hawthorn going to Cairns for the men's side. They did for the women.
Good.
Well, this is the time of year where the weather's going to be good enough there. That's the problem with the men's, is fitting it into the right time of the year because, they brought an Indigenous round game against Melbourne, which they won, obviously, en route to the McClellan Trophy. In week 9, they went up to Kazales. And we also had the first ever Dreamtime in Darwin for the women, and it was awesome.
And it was a draw, apparently.
That's just another reason why it's awesome. But Dreamtime in Darwin should happen every year on the men's side as well. Not just the Suns playing 2 games there. And, it doesn't have to be Richmond and Essendon. Just get other teams going there.
Yeah, let's make it a more regular thing, if this is going to be a national game. And I like that much more than I like the idea of, a team just selling games. If you just have neutral sites that everyone hits up now and then without much discretion.
Everyone going to a neutral site. How about everybody going to Geelong or Tasmania first?
I do, of course, want to plug an idea with the possibility of there being a new venue in Bunbury. Where I, of course, have been saying for a long time there should be a game?
Eucla.
Well, there's somewhere else that's honestly more important to me.
More important than Eucla?
Yes.
Well, Echuca, if we're talking Victoria. Is there something out west, too?
Nope. Do you not know?
Fire away.
Queenstown.
Even better, actually. You can get some more snow footy regardless.
I don't want snow footy. I want gravel footy.
Oh, correct. Kate Blanchett went on Jimmy Kimmel and mentioned playing footy in the gravel in Tasmania.
There's a couple of they're really small, so they're playing 6 or 8-man football, but there are a couple of high school football fields that are like that, where they're in mining towns, so the soil's too shitty to have grass.
In particular, there is Trona.
Yes. Not Trona, Trona.
In San Bernardino County, way inland. It's southwest of Death Valley. It is a complete dirt football field, and I think baseball's the same way.
Yeah, they literally can't grow grass there.
Not too many places where you can't grow enough grass for a football field. I can think of another where it's dry for a different reason. That's because it's cold as fuck.
Alaska.
The coolest football field in the world belongs to the Barrow Whalers on this little spit of land next to the Arctic Ocean. And they play good football there.
Ooh, let's check on how they've done this season. Because that's what people tune into this show for. 5-3, lost their first playoff game.
They lost 6-0 to Homer,
who they beat in the regular season.
And Homer's on the other side of Alaska.
Let's see. Could you even drive between the two? I mean, not at this time of year, probably, but is there a time of year where you could? And if yes, how long would it take?
The distance is 825 miles.
Driving it is not possible. That's fucking awesome.
It takes 4 hours just to get from Homer to Anchorage in the first place. Point is, Alaska's big as fuck.
I like those maps that are a reverse map of Alaska, where Alaska's huge, then the rest of the U.S. is a tiny little thing in the corner.
That seems like a very Alaskan thing to do. Surprised we don't have a strong Alaskan sovereignty movement like we do with Hawaii or Bougainville. You would have to imagine that Australia would establish immediate diplomatic ties with a place that calls itself Bougainville.
I would hope.
What are we talking about? Yeah, Bunbury. This feels very strange. It's 2 games a year for the next 3 years, so I guess that would be, 2 in Tasmania, 2 in Bunbury, or maybe they're backing out of Tasmania altogether. So no Ninja Stadium for them, which is the new name for the place in Belrith.
So none at all, like this year and beyond?
I don't know. We aren't really clear. At the most, we would expect 2 now.
Well, I guess we should know in a couple weeks.
Yeah, fixtures out on November 14th, and sounds like, among other things, Geelong may be involved in opening round over Carlton at the Blues' request.
Rumors I heard was at Brisbane.
That would make sense. The rumor that makes me happiest is 21 Thursday games.
That should make everyone happy. More Thursday footy is good. Less overlaps.
People are generally not happy about this because of the difficulty of getting to Thursday games on time in a lot of cases.
You know what Richard Sherman would say?
He says a lot of things. Something about a sorry receiver.
Stop bitching and fucking adapt.
As we look ahead to 20 teams, Thursday night is necessary. So I'm glad to see more of it. If we're looking at, places where crowds have been best for it, it's Adelaide, Brisbane, and Big Four games at the G. So hopefully we'll get that. I would love a Thursday Q Clash or a Thursday Showdown again. More standalone rivalries overall is good. Like a Thursday Derby even.
You know where I would be fine with taking out some of those Thursday games actually is the bye rounds. Like a round where there's 5 or 6 games, you could just go 1 Friday, 3 Saturday, 2 Sunday.
That seems right, and then maybe you'd have it like all the way up through like round 22 otherwise.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Because as you're looking toward finals, even with the extra week off, you might not want to have a Thursday in there for the final couple. But Thursday was going to happen, and I'm glad it's happening sooner rather than later, and more standalone rivalries, please. People naturally tune in for rivalries, even if it's across the country or the world. Collingwood Carlton always is a great ratings draw. Western Derby has ended up being the same way pretty frequently. If you keep building up Q Clash, you keep having that Sunday night one like they did this year ahead of Queensland's Labor Day, keep that on the calendar, absolutely. And, make that last Sunday game, the Sunday twilight game, more of an event. So often the round just ends with a whimper. That's where he's been sticking West Coast and North so often.
Sunday night football, guys, this is not a hard concept. Even if it's not that late, even if it's like 5 or 6 p.m. local time. Let's make the last game of the round fun.
5 p.m. local, that's Sunday night football for us on the West Coast is 5:20 p.m. kick, and it's a huge deal. Niners-Cowboys was huge, for example.
Tonight was like the greatest quarterback matchup of all time.
Sam Darnold is 6-2.
He's the God Emperor quarterback of the United States. Although there were efforts to sabotage him from Will Riker.
Honestly, his own teammates, Stephon Gilmore, taking away a pick from Cal's own Cam Bynum with a pass interference penalty. But he survived. And well done to Lachie Neal's lookalike, that being Vikings head coach and San Diego's own Kevin O'Connell. We're not the only ones seeing this, right? They've even got the purple connection now, Kevin O'Connell and Lachie Neal. I forget which of us spotted that first.
I'm pretty sure you did.
Kevin O'Connell looks a lot more like Lachie Neal than I look like Jake Gyllenhaal, which is something I've gotten semi-regularly. Obviously cool seeing the continued influx of Australian punters at the college and NFL levels. Former Geelong VFLer Matthew Hayball, he could have a head coach fired by the time this episode's out. But yes, Thursday night footy is a good thing, and let's hopefully get a good amount of those at Adelaide and Brisbane. Concept's already been proven there.
Most importantly, actually, will just be that there will be games around whenever we are going to be there.
Yeah, we'll have to start looking at that pretty intently, and I'm going to have to balance that, obviously, with my schedule in terms of finishing up my Masters by then.
Yeah, that's actually the most exciting thing about schedule drops. Even though, it is also fun, like looking at the double ups and complaining about things. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, trying to figure out pilgrimage stuff and me.
Here's a fun fact. Looking at Kevin O'Connell's Wikipedia page, I have 2 fun facts. First off, he was a basketball teammate in high school of Chase Budinger, who then went on to be a pretty decent basketball player and then an Olympian in beach volleyball. And he had the second fastest 40-yard dash among quarterbacks. He was the San Diego State quarterback. Which QB at the 2008 NFL Combine had the fastest 40-yard dash time?
NFL Combine 2008, you said?
Yes.
2008. Is this a California connection?
Yes.
Is it a San Diego connection?
Maybe.
Is it also a Bay Area connection?
Yes.
Hell yeah, Josh Johnson. Got time against the Broncos.
whenever he's done playing, he won't have to worry between NFL money and someone's going to give his daughter a bunch of NIL money because she's like 6'4". She may be dunking in game soon.
And she is a big-time recruit from Oakland Tech, so that's going to be fun.
Oh, I told
the attention, and honestly, with the attention the WNBA has gotten this year more than ever, I feel like we're just actually going to have like more things to talk about there. Congrats to Sandy Brondello, head coach of the New York Liberty, and also the daughter of some cab driver, who insists that his daughter is the best. I'm not sure if we've ever mentioned this, Ethan.
It was a Twitter thread, actually.
Content director for the Bulls and White Sox talked about taking an Uber in San Francisco. They were starting talking basketball because, this guy who's getting the ride, it was working for the Bulls, and he mentioned his daughter playing college ball. This guy taking the ride says, she must be good. Dude turns around. No, she is not good. She is the best. The driver was Dan Ionescu, father of Sabrina.
So, I think he was right. She actually, is the best.
And also, she was playing through a high-grade UCL tear in the final game.
That explains the 1 for 19.
At least it's not, 27 straight threes as a team?
Also, they won, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
You know what I think is better than playing through a bad UCL tear?
Oh, don't do a thing with, winning a gold medal with a broken freaking neck.
No, winning World Series MVP with torn cartilage in your rib.
Frederick Charles Freeman. Decoy gets a World Series ring, right?
I don't know if he gets a ring, but he gets something.
We got footy. We got men's footy in March. Obviously, women's footy finals about to start up. Rio, we are counting on you.
I mean, it would be really funny, actually, if Essendon's women just win, everything and become a dynasty and the men keep not winning finals.
I think it would be more fun for just Essendon to never win another final.
Either outcome is great. What we can't have is Essendon's women just, occasionally winning something. They either have to be amazing or have the same sort of futility.
Some fabulous finishes recently. A questionable call leading to a Ports winner the other night that led to Essendon having to go out to Frio in the first place. The Irish girls showing out. Aislinn Maloney in her second year, joint leading goal kicker, got the perfect number and everything. I believe they do play Rattling Bog for her.
You watch her play it all, and the talent jumps out right away.
There's another girl with an Irish name, but is fully Australian that I want to mention. Ailish Sheeran. You saw the stupidity about this referral to the tribunal and the appeal, right?
So she got referred for pushing a player who fell into the umpire.
Yes, this is a brilliant halfback. All Australian the past couple of years. I don't understand how this even was a direct tribunal referral when she didn't even directly make contact with the umpire. She was not suspended. Then the AFL fucking appealed on multiple grounds, and in 46 minutes, their appeal was thrown out. Firstly, an appeal only taking 46 minutes to be thrown out. I mean, this David Zeta and Max Lawton are probably still slack-jawed by that. But secondly, how embarrassing is this for the league? Yes, I pushed somebody who fell into somebody else. I should be suspended. What?
Now, the NHL approach would be to suspend the player who got pushed into the ref.
Georgia Nanskoen. Yeah, and she would have been suspended for 3 games?
I don't know. Depends on who it is.
Sorry, I'm hearing Rafi Torres has been suspended for 3 lifetimes, as if he's a cat. So yeah, AFLW finals, looking forward to that. Nighttime grand final. I don't want it just because I feel like this will lead to a nighttime AFL grand final for the men and all that. I feel like that.
Again, I wouldn't mind the grand final starting an hour or two later. Let's make the grand final 4 p.m. instead of 2:30.
A yellow ball grand final?
Sure.
Interesting. I just don't hope they don't try just all their dumb ideas on the women and make it just a mess of a competition, even more of a mess of a competition than it already is. And that's my biggest gripe there. Also, we aren't actually going to have to wait until March to have some serious men's footy. We got something in February. The return of the Indigenous All-Stars. It'll be against Freo.
I am so in favor of this. I think, the art of scheduling an exhibition is really tough because you want guys to play hard, but you don't want guys to get hurt. This is something that's worth putting yourself out there for. and will also appeal to fans regardless of the importance or unimportance of the actual on-field game. I think people will be in on this.
Seems like it's pretty universally acclaimed that this is coming back, and Frio's a great candidate for it. I believe they've only played 2 matches in their club's history on the men's side without an Indigenous player, and it sounds like all of Shea Bolton, Alex Pierce, and Michael Walters will be playing for the All-Stars, so good luck, Frio. Wait, Lawson Humphreys, Indigenous All-Star?
Please. Also, I like the idea. I think you would mention the idea of Indigenous All-Stars versus reigning premiers as kind of a season kickoff thing. I think that would be pretty cool too.
It gives me Super Bowl champions versus college All-Stars vibes, which is a thing that happened for a while in America.
I think that's also kind of the early NHL All-Star games were defending champions versus All-Stars or something.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, from 1934 through 1976 in Chicago, almost always, it was normally the Super Bowl champions against this college All-Stars squad, which did hand the Super Bowl champions a few losses over the years.
Yeah, I think this is, like I said, the best possible outcome that gives you a game that's fun, but not overly serious, but also not too informal. Players will get into it, but you're probably also going to work to try to avoid injuries.
The other option here, you see Bolton and Pearson Walters already know that they'll play for the All-Stars. What is the move there if it's the premiers?
Well, that would be kind of cool.
What's the move though? Is it is there a switch at halftime? The switch could kind of feel awkward though.
I think because it's awkward would be great.
Especially if it's you got half of the guys from the premiership team playing with the premiers for one half and then switching off.
Yeah, kind of how if you have a testimonial for a soccer player, usually they end up playing half the game with one team, half with the other. Also, just the idea of going from imagine you get super physical and start fighting with someone on the other team during the first half, and then you're their teammate in the second half. I think that's awesome.
There was something like this in the AFL prospects game before the grand final a few years back. I forget who it involved. Maybe Isaac Rankin? Somebody switched teams and I think was named best on ground. I want to look this up now because this has happened. Yes, 2017. Team Enright, Corey Enright against Team Harvey, Brett Harvey. And Isaac Rankin switched teams at halftime, I guess to try and balance things, and he won best on ground for the game. So yeah, I guess more switching of stuff, and imagine teammates beefing as well. I hope I hope Melbourne wins the premiership and it happens with them. Give me Stephen May and Jake Melksham round 2, and yeah, I imagine there will be a fair number of Brisbane players, in this All-Stars game. Anyhow, you imagine Rayner would be there, Charlie Cameron. Maybe that could be Kadeem Coleman's first game back in some capacity. It is a 30-man squad. Congrats to Rayner on his 6-year deal, by the way. Well-deserved.
A couple other extensions. I know we noted Darcy Fogarty through 2031.
I think this is a good extension. You're looking for your long-term future there with the Crows. And I said they've got the decent quantity of tall forwards already. You got Taylor Walker for another year or two, but Fogarty has proven his accuracy, amazingly accurate, honestly, for a tall. So you got him and Phil Thorpe working in there, and Phil Thorpe taking some of the ruck time as well. I really want to see those two plus Toby Murray working into things, and maybe Toby Murray could end up being a ruck solution along with Phil Thorpe long-term, Nick's younger brother, who was a mid-season elevation from the Sandful squad. You see, we have the ability to get excited about so many of these teams, and the Crows are an easy one for that. And they'll disappoint us.
Just don't kill the excitement super early. That's all I ask.
Want to also mention a very important 1-year extension. We're very glad to hear that Reef McGuinness was extended by Collingwood, but when his footy career ends, he'll be able to work as a detective in the next SpongeBob movie. His name is Reef, for crying out loud. There's artwork already, and I'm sad it didn't pop off.
It deserved to.
I can't believe it turned out as well as it did.
I know you said you had to work on it a bunch. This obviously didn't happen on the initial prompt you gave.
It took a bit, but it generated out damn well, honestly. it looks semi-convincing, like 90% convincing. I guess last things here, Jaden Stevenson has lost the passion for footy. Shame there.
You wonder if that contributed to just his struggles on the Oval in the last couple of years, period.
Rising star winner who had a very nice start with Collingwood, but when you go to North, you go to North. And Clarkson isn't the easiest guy to play for either, so hopefully he can find the passion in some other way and stay connected with the sport. Looks like he's going back to the place where he played as a junior and giving back there, so that's good. Glad it's not, complete split from the game there. We focus obviously on the on-field impact, but we only see just a small sliver of these players' lives. And we hope that they can stay connected to the footy and the things they love, obviously, throughout their entire lives. So you can find the passion in some way, keep that going, always the best. Next time we talk to you, we'll definitely have some more news regarding fixture. I think the next time we will talk will probably be the fixture focus. So look for that maybe in a week or so's time. Hopefully we will get on that within the first day or so after the fixtures come out. I remember last year, Ethan, you hid from as much of the information as you could just so you could get a kick out of like the first time stuff. You want to do that again?
No, I just want to see stuff, especially now that we played the Eagles at Optus. I mean, if you want to do some of that, you can, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, well, we'll get a kick out of the first time stuff. At least I'll be the one in charge of that. In the meantime, enjoy AFLW Finals Week 1. Enjoy England and India humiliating themselves on the cricket ovals.
You had left a bunch of cricket notes here and then didn't actually say anything about them.
I feel like this episode is going to be long enough as is, just England having this amazing first innings in their 3-test series and then being humiliated by spin bowling. And spin bowling just being the way things went between Pakistan and England, New Zealand, ending India's streak and whitewashing them being insane. I know, I'm getting more and more of a kick out of Test cricket, honestly.
I just can't be, it doesn't hold my attention. Until you get a hilarious moment like the, why did you do that? And those are like 1 in a million.
Or New Zealand winning by a run last year, things like that. Usually when there's Test cricket on, either it's late at night, and so it's like before bed viewing for me, or it's on in the background. And I still enjoy that part of it. I enjoy getting to know more about cricket, and hopefully that's how I can build up even more of a cultural connection with our Australian audience. Border Gavaskar Trophy should be fun, and the Women's Ashes. So we'll keep an eye on that, obviously, as well as the T20 leagues and all the footy news. Also, a 16-year-old from California demolished Zimbabwe on the women's side.
All right, anything else? I think that kind of clears it, yeah?
Yeah, a lot of ends tied up, honestly. They might not have been too loose to begin with, but important things to discuss in these couple weeks here. And now looking forward to fixtures and the draft. And we'll definitely try to get some more draft intel from those more knowledgeable, because, up on the draft stuff here in America a lot of the time. So the more intel we get from y'all, the better. Tell us what you know. Tell us who you think teams should be targeting at certain areas. Our replies are always on for Twitter and Instagram at Americans Footy.
You know the drill. I'm at Castle Media. He's at Benjamin HK01. Brian Harambe is currently sitting in my window. His Instagram is at cat named Brian.
I feel like we really need to work on the ending to our shows.
Stay in milk, drink your drugs, don't do school.
Yeah, I'd rather do that than, David Chase Sopranos cut off in the middle of